Good morning, everyone. Today is Friday, June 12th, and welcome back to GADCAST, brought to you by the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors. My name is Joe Roth, and I'm your local government affairs director with NSBAR. GADCAST is the latest podcast offering from NSBAR that'll keep you updated on what's happening in the world of realtor advocacy. Each episode will feature a special guest where we dive a little deeper into the issues and just how we are fighting for realtors and their clients. Before we get started, we got a little bit of a news update coming out of Lake County Board, where this week they passed their first appropriation of CARES Act funds. So far, they've been allocated $119 million in funds, and this first appropriation is $19 million, including $4 million in rental assistance and $10 million for small business assistance. I recently recorded an interview with Lake County Board member from the 3rd District, Dick Barr, to highlight this new information and what to watch for next. Make sure to watch NSBAR's Facebook page later today to view our discussion. And the most direct and the most frequently encountered policies happen at the local level. Municipal policies impact property rights from the moment someone decides to buy property until they finish selling it, and every moment in between. Pre-sale code inspections, transfer taxes, occupancy permits, maintenance codes. These are just a few of the near limitless regulations that impact not just property owners, but also those wanting to acquire property. And that's why Illinois Realtors and the North Shore-Barrington Association of Realtors have made such a commitment to not only working on local policies with elected officials, but also supporting elected officials that are champions for private property rights. And what we found over the years is that some of the most effective elected officials are also realtors. And that brings us today's guest. A realtor since 1997, Jesal Patel is owner of Patel Realty in Lincolnwood, where he also serves as village trustee. During his tenure, he's not only shown to be an effective leader in the community, but also a champion of private property rights. Jesal, welcome to GADCAST.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
So, as we've discussed, much of my role is informing elected officials on policy matters and often the unintended consequences of those policies. But as a realtor, you're at a bit of an advantage over your peers because you understand the impact on private property. So can you talk a little bit about how your realtor career has improved your understanding of these policies?
Sure, Joe. Well, as we all know, being a realtor, we are intimately knowledgeable of what makes up property value and what can affect, just as you stated. So our biggest role in local government is really the use of land. Through our zoning code, we adopt rules for different zoning classifications, and then either revise the rules as necessary or allow for variances. Understanding what's necessary, what's tolerable, what's usual and customary in a marketplace, in a region, really helps to decide how to move forward when we have decisions before us on a board, rather than just looking at individual instances, but being able to look at from a higher elevation, really, to understand a community or a market as a whole.
And so here we are, we're in 2020, and this is a year like any other that we've seen. But now we're in phase 3 of this pandemic plan for the state of Illinois. How has the village managed to operate so far, and how's phase 3 going for Lincoln?
So we've faced many of the challenges that other communities have. Our revenue sources are taxes, either property taxes or sales taxes. We don't really have much of a product to sell. And our businesses in town generate those taxes for us, the sales taxes. And with malls being closed, car dealerships doing very little volume, and restaurants being mostly closed, but having carry out and delivery only, it really affects our revenue. So we're immediately looking at what we can do to manage and cut our budget to stabilize our revenue, not only from the taxation standpoint, but also from the standpoint of supporting those who are generating those taxes. So doing what we can to support the restaurant industry within our town. And then in Lincolnwood in particular, we have a strong car dealership industry. So whatever we can to support them. They are really functioning on their own, but the restaurant industry has really needed our help, and we've stepped up to do exactly what we're able to.
So, and this is one of those times where we're really able to see the highlight and the importance of commercial real estate in communities. And that sounds like exactly what you're talking to, is that commercial impact is very valuable for the community as a whole in terms of reducing the burden on property taxpayers. And of course, we're in this economic downturn now that's all directly related to COVID-19. Could you kind of further summarize that budgetary impact and what you see playing out for property owners over the coming year as we get through this recovery?
Property taxes are pretty complicated. Every community, every township is going to face different challenges depending on the type of real estate that makes up their total equalized assessed value. I like to use Lincolnwood as a microcosm of other communities and what other people face. Our school districts are solely, or our local school district is solely on Lincolnwood. Our library district, we don't have a park district, so about half of our taxes are generated, or half our tax bill are generated right here in our boundaries. We have some large properties in town, a very large senior living facility that's worth about $200 million, and our Lincolnwood Town Center. Those two parcels, their value and their relative value in the community can have a direct effect on our tax rate, which has a direct effect on our ultimate tax bills and what our homeowners and businesses pay in taxes. Likewise, in an environment like we're in today with a drastic changes in commercial real estate value, a lot of people fail to realize that commercial real estate taxes or commercial properties are taxed at a rate 2.5 times that of residential. So if you have a heavy reliance in a community or in a taxing boundary on commercial real estate, that gets negatively affected by a catastrophe like we have experienced or like we're experiencing. That can result in an impact to another market that doesn't have that same effect, being the residential market. Now, what happens in reality? Nobody knows. I don't even know if the magician behind the curtain knows. What the assessor does is going to determine how we are affected by this, either in industries, residential or commercial, but also on the smaller scale, within those industries. Apartment buildings might not get relief. Residential, single-family homes may get relief. And commercial, the assessor is talking about doing a wholesale reduction in commercial property values, which would do nothing to really help those who've been hurt. I'll just give an example. A Walmart or a Target has operated pretty much normally throughout this COVID. They've had different cleaning measures and spacing, but the amount of customers going into those stores, it really has been untouched. Their property value may have gone up. The value of those leases has gone up. But if they're reduced, they're unjustly enriched from this event. Meanwhile, a business that's completely closed, a straight clothing retailer, or someone who wasn't, or a business that wasn't considered an essential service in a regular retail shopping center, in a neighborhood shopping center that lost value, might need the relief. So I hope that helps and didn't go too deep into the woods with the taxes.
No, absolutely, and property taxes are definitely a very complex issue throughout Cook County, and I think you're absolutely correct. There is a bit of a microcosm here in Lincolnwood that is really reflects what the entire region is facing with all of this. And we're definitely going to have some difficult days ahead when it comes to budgeting, but I think that's one of the great things of having realtors representing. As a realtor, you represent your whole community. Anyway, you understand the community probably better than your average person. I think that's a fair statement. And having that representation in the decision-making process is critical because you can see those unintended consequences that we often deal with in real estate and local public policy issues. And during every economic downturn, we're reminded of the importance of a strong real estate market. Could you summarize for all of our listeners here how the market in Lincolnwood is doing, and is there anything you think the village could do to better support that local real estate market?
So Lincolnwood is a unique community. In our location, we're surrounded on three sides by Chicago, and we're the first stop out for those who are looking for a suburban feel for a smaller school district and don't have a need to actually be in Chicago. Over the course of about a 15-year period, beginning in the early 90s, late 80s, Lincolnwood experienced tremendous property value increase to the tune of 10 to 15% year-over-year increases in value. And that was a lot based on people coming in, buying older, smaller homes, demolishing and building them McMansions. That trend really stopped with that 2007-2008 recession, and the value of homes that were intended to be demolished and really were just the value of the land for the purpose of a new construction plummeted. And it wasn't just an effect of the economy, but also the change in taste, people not building larger homes like that, just the desires in the market changing. And we really haven't recovered to the point where a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, Cape Cod on a 45-foot lot will get you $400,000 anymore. Maybe a Georgian that's worth it to move into, but those houses people would have wanted $600,000 for back then. So we're having difficulties. As a village board, we understand that tastes have changed and, as far as size, building construction or construction materials, different ways to deal with rainwater and limiting our impervious surface requirements or pervious surface requirements. And we have been working to modify those codes and those regulations to allow for more people to come back and demolish older homes or rehab, and to allow for cementitious exteriors that aren't solid stone or solid brick, but rather a cementitious stucco, which was looked down upon because of the EPIS craze. Allowing different fence materials. We had a very detailed fence code that didn't allow for some of the modern designs that are going on right now, modern materials being used. So going in and changing that. Now we're even looking at the impervious surface and allowing people to bonus their lot coverage with concrete for driveway or for patio by installing a culvert or stormwater management on site. As many of us know, active stormwater management is much more reliable and lasts longer than just trying to use grading to move stormwater. So those things we're aware of and cognizant of, and trying to change to attract developers and new home builders and families alike, and all the other things that we need to do. Keeping our taxes low is a big one, but maintaining our streets and our parks and having good programs that attract homeowners to communities is important for us as well. We want to have a good home stock, an affordable home stock, but also we want people to be getting the service level that they expect. And as we all know, a big one is schools are what people look for. Lincolnwood has a good reputation for schools. I'm a product of the school district. I've been here since I was 4 years old. Went through all the schools here, and we've maintained a good relationship with our school district so that we can work together in solving problems and pooling resources and efforts so that we can provide the best service to our community.
That's why you're the best, Jesal. It's keeping ahead of the issues and understanding, the big picture, not just for today, but for the future, while also adapting to a change.
One thing I'd like to promote also as a response to the COVID pandemic and the effect it's had on our residents and businesses alike. We're going to be coming forward in our next board meeting with a local rebate program for residents in using our restaurants here in town. We haven't finalized the exact method that we're going to use, whether it's going to be coupons or rebating through the showing of receipts, but really giving a discount or a rebate to our residents in town to use in our restaurants. We have a food and beverage tax, so kind of keeping all of the money in the family, but helping our businesses, helping our residents, and we've redirected, or what the thought is going to be is to redirect some economic development funds from our property enhancement program. It's money designed to go to facade enhancements, landscaping, things that improve the exterior. Those funds haven't been utilized fully over the last couple of years, so redirecting some money we have in our budget, knowing we have a tight budget as it is. We don't want to make new expenses, but if we can move things around to target them to supporting businesses that go back to supporting our budget, it's just something that we've started and we're going to do. So just wanted to point that out.
No, that's a great program and a great way to, again, support local business, support the local tax base. And I think I like what you said, keep it in the family, and supporting one another. And I think that's a big part of every community making it through this COVID pandemic, and not just the health consequences of it, but also the economic fallout of what we have to do to slow the spread of this virus.
I failed to have some props with me today. Our Economic Development Commission and Community Development Director came up with a wonderful slogan. It's buy local, Lincolnwood, and it's WOULD with a picture of Lincoln. So I just, Lincolnwood, it's something I think we're going to try to throw into all of our branding, be health conscious, socially distanced, all those things on Lincolnwood. So I wish I had the image of it to hold up. It's a nice, fun thing they did.
You send that along to me and I'll share it everywhere, because that's a good one. I like that.
I will.
That's fun stuff. Well, Jesal, we really appreciate you taking some time today to chat with us about the issues. Anything before we sign off? Anything else you'd like to share?
I appreciate the opportunity to share with the realtor community. I wanted to touch on one comment you had. Being a realtor and having the perspective, sitting on the board or being on an advisory committee, a zoning board, a plan commission, economic development commission, even a park board or a library board, really does go a long way to helping a community make wise decisions and grow. But we're not just realtors, we're also business owners. Many of us act as sole proprietors, or we do other things in business and in real estate, whether it's investing or flipping or being contractors. And so that perspective is really important to operate a local government. And so I'd put the call out, and as I know you do so much, Joe, to all of our membership in the town that you live. Reach out to your mayor, reach out to your village manager, and if you have an interest, if you have some time, see what's available for you to be able to volunteer. We are always desperate to find people who not only are knowledgeable and capable and experienced, but also willing, foolish enough to take this on. The member of NSBAR who got me into NSBAR, Mr. Don Gelfand, I'll give him a shout out. I was his neighbor for a short time while I was building my house, and we were having a conversation about something I didn't like that Public Works was doing. And he said, well, you've got a big mouth. Why don't you give me your resume and I'll get you involved? And 16 years later, I'm here, asking for people to help. So, it's fun. This has become, one of my favorite hobbies, and really the impact can go a long way. You can really see your efforts, take effect in short order. I like to say that the tax reform bill that got passed back at the beginning of this last presidential term was not a result of the president, but it was a result of our efforts in Washington and in Springfield over the course of a decade to get comprehensive tax reform. And sometimes we get quick results and sometimes it takes years and years, but when it happens, it really feels good. So, I would put that call out there to anybody who's interested, make the call. And if you need help, reach out to Joe. He'll get you in touch with me. I can help out as well and get you involved, or even if you just want to be, if you want to talk about what's involved, I'd be glad to help. So that's all. Joe, thank you for everything you do and for what NSBAR does to advocate for our interests.
Thank you, Jesal. That's a great call to action. As you know, and as hopefully our listeners know, as realtors, you have a lot of options and resources available to you if you're interested in getting more involved. All you need to do is pick up the phone, call or text me, email me, however it is we can be of support. We can get you in contact and all the resources you need to effectively engage in your community. With that, Jesal, many thanks again for joining us on GADCAST.
My pleasure, Joe. Thanks anytime.
And like I said, as a member of NSBAR, there are all of these opportunities to engage in realtor advocacy. And we don't just mean on the policy or political fronts. Community engagement and leadership is a foundational cornerstone of NSBAR. And through Illinois Realtors and the National Association of Realtors, you have a number of tools available to help you make the biggest impact on your community. So join us on June 26th for our next episode of GADCAST. We'll talk about how to access those tools and some of the resources available. Until then, be well, everyone.